Hey guys, welcome back to another video. It's the Norwegian guy. My name is Daniel and we're back at it again. So this time around I have decided, okay, since I just did a video where I talk about what I consider to be the best tracks of each album. Once again, one thing I forgot to mention in that last video, it's just my opinion. It's not a definitive answer. We all hear things differently. It's all subjective. So make sure to leave a comment in the comment section below if you agree or disagree. If you have another pick, by all means, go right ahead. Rank all the songs of each album, how you like them, and maybe also tell me why you like them. I'm always curious to see what people have to say. So today, I need to tackle the what I would consider to be the worst, or in some case, or rather not the worst, but maybe the weakest track of each album. So, of course, in the Queen catalog, obviously, when you start off with the first one, which one would I consider to be the worst one? Kind of a tough choice, honestly. I'm not gonna go with Seven Seas of Rye because it's just a short piece instrumental by him, which, by the way, it does become a fully realized song on the next album. So I'm gonna skip right past that one. But if I had to pick the worst one for me on this one, it's Modern Times Rock and Roll. I really think it's kind of weak. Again, this is also kind of because I don't think Roger Taylor necessarily is the greatest Queen songwriter. Not that he doesn't have his moments, but for me, the song doesn't really do a whole lot. And honestly, I can kind of take it or leave it. I don't know why I yanked this out. Sorry about that. Next one up, Queen 2. I kind of gave it away in my initial review of this, and that of course is once again another Roger Taylor song, and that's "Loser in the End." To me, it doesn't really fit the album. It sticks out kind of like a sore thumb, where most of the songs feels very thematically cohesive to the album, kind of conceptual. "Loser in the End" kind of stands out like this atypical kind of hard rock song, and but that it doesn't fit the album. So sorry, Roger. The song doesn't really do anything for me, and it really, for me, it's the weakest moment on the album. On Sheer Heart Attack, weakest track for me on this one is I kind of had to go with Bring Back That Leroy Brown. Not necessarily that I think it's bad. It's just, I mean, it's kind of a doo-wop song that doesn't really grab me. Like they're trying to do this kind of Jerry Lee Lewis thing, and for me, Queen would later go on to do something similar, either on a track like Crazy Little Thing Called Love, or later on, of course, on the Works album with, I think it was, oh, which one was it again? No, not Tear It Up. Man on the Prowl, that's the one. I kind of had to go through the track listing in my head. But yeah, Bring Back That Leroy Brown doesn't really work for me, and that's the weakest track for me on Sheer Heart Attack. Now on to A Night at the Opera, their big magnum opus, and for me the weakest link on this one is Sweet Lady. I have never been able to fully grasp this song. I've never been fully able to wrap my head around it, and honestly, it's a song that I tend to skip. And even when this record is on my turntable, on the occasion it is, I tend just to kind of either mute it or tune it down, or just go ahead and go out of the room and do something else until the song is done. So not really a great song in my opinion, and they could have probably done something stronger, but at the end, that's for me is the weakest song on this. Uh, anyway, moving on to a Day at the Races. This one was kind of tough. I think most of the tracks are at least somewhat pretty decent or pretty solid. I mean, so at the end of the day, kind of trying to pick the worst one out of this, and this bunch was kind of tough. But at the end of the day, I think I'll just gonna have to go with White Man. It's a solid hard rocker, but for me, it doesn't really stand out in any significant fashion. So for me, that one has to be the weakest one for me. Okay, news of the world. Kind of controversial pick. No, I'm not gonna go with either We Will Rock or We Have Champions. They are big enough, so big for a significant reason. Uh, Get Down, Make Love. I really do not like this song at all. I find it kind of annoying. I find the lyrics kind of juvenile, and honest, honestly, to me, Queen tend to be kind of have more of a cerebral substance to their lyrics. This one is a little bit, like I said, a little too juvenile for me. So with that, not to mention, I do not like the arrangement of the song. So I can honestly do without it. So that for me is the weakest one of news of the world. Coming up, jazz. This one again, I think this one is, I think overall is, it has a pretty consistent outing, but at the end of the day, I think the weakest one for me, uh, kind of a toughie. Now that I'm kind of looking at the list, looking at the track listing here, but I think at the end of the day, I guess Dreamer's Ball, even though it's supposed to be kind of an homage to Elvis Presley, who passed away a year before this album was released. Uh, but it's again, once again, I don't remember much of this song outside of that. Yeah, I probably wouldn't even think about this song if it hadn't been for the fact that I know that little piece of trivia. So at the end of the day, I think that one is gonna come in last. Be the weakest track for me on jazz. Excuse me. Next one up. From the Game album, the weakest one for me, kind of clean cut. No pun intended, but it's "Don't Try Suicide." Uh, I think the intention of the lyrics is pretty good. Unfortunately, the melody honestly kind of ruins it. I think the message is a pretty solid one. But kind of how the music is, it kind of is so juxtaposed to the lyrics, and for me, I think it has a good intention. Unfortunately, I think the overall song doesn't really do the thematic content of the lyrics any justice. So that one for me has to be the weakest one of the game. Uh, the Flash's theme, the Flash Gordon soundtrack, excuse me. Weakest one off here, probably Football Night. I think that is probably the instrumental. I find that honestly kind of lame. Uh, but yeah, they. I mean, there's not really much to latch onto here. I'm not gonna say the hero because I think that's a pretty solid track. Oh boy, yeah. Now it's time for hot space, and of course it's body language. There's no way to. I'm not gonna beat around the bush on this. It's without a shadow of doubt. It's the body language. That's easily the worst. Uh, Queen song without a shadow of doubt. I It's so dumb, so repetitive, and trust me, pretty much the biggest problem with this album is it lacks the presence of Brian May and his excellent guitar work. I mean, it's pretty much absent from this, replaced by synthesizers and drum machines and some decent bass work. But honestly, the production is absolutely for the most part pretty bad on this, and the songwriting is just lame. Uh, Moving on to the works. this one was kind of tough for me to pick the weakest track off of this thing. But at the end of the day, I think the weakest one for me anyway has to be Keep Passing the Open Windows. I mean, it's an enjoyable song, and I think this album is pretty consistent. But if I had to pick the song that it probably has the least appeal to me, it is Keep Passing the Open Windows. It's a solid 80s, kind of 80s pop rock tune, but and would make a great driving song, by the way. But at the end of the day, it's not really a big thing for me. Excuse me. Um, a Kind of Magic. Weakest song for me on here. Pain is so close to pleasure. Uh, it feels like a heated leftover from Hot Space, and probably should have been cut off of this thing. Honestly, if it wasn't for that, I probably would have picked Friends Will Be Friends because I genuinely do not like this song. So, but at the end of the day, yeah, I'll take Friends Will Be Friends over Pain is So Close to Pleasure any given day. So, yeah, Pain is So Close to Pleasure is just a bad song. Oh boy, The Miracle. Weakest one, My Baby Does Me. I think that song is utterly forgettable. It's so plain and so bland. For an album that's pretty solid from beginning to end. I mean, the fact that at least they don't close the album out on it, I think kind of redeems it a little bit. But man, it's tough to kind of have to sit through. I think it's just bizarre that somehow My Baby Does Me made it onto this album and is sandwiched between two Queen songs I really like off this album, Scandal, and my favorite song off of this album, which is Was It All Worth It? So at the end of the day, My Baby Does Me does nothing for me. Excuse me. Innuendo. What is the weakest one for me here? If I had to pick, I mean, I know I'm not gonna say Delilah. I mean, let him sing about his cat as much as he likes. Freddie, if there's any cat lovers out there like myself, I really enjoy the song. The only song I really like this album. If you saw my Queen ranking video, this one ranked pretty high on my list. But if there's one song I wish they could have cut off from this thing, it has to be All God's People. I like the idea of them going back to doing some gospel again, but this song, it's kind of lackluster. It's without question the one song I generally tend to skip. Like I can go through the entire track listing here from Innuendo to I'm Going Slightly Mad to Headlong to I Can't Live With You, Ride a Wild Wind, up until All God's People. Then I'm like skip and then move straight into These Are the Days of Our Lives, and I'll take my chances on that. I mean, if I'm not, I don't remember exactly where. If Don't Try So, no wait, I think actually Don't Try So Hard and Ride the Wild Wind. So I'll go through those songs and then of course get to All God's People, skip it, and then boom, I'm off to finish off the album. Weakest track on this one. If I had to pick, it's My Life Has Been Saved. I could also go with Mother Love, but obviously, given the fact that it's the last thing Freddie ever recorded while he was still alive, I having a much bigger emotional sentiment to it. But at the end of the day, My Life Has Been Saved. That is probably the one song that really doesn't really do any. Excuse me. That doesn't really do anything for me. So at the end of the day, that is easily the weakest one for me. So with that, I'm just gonna head out. So make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and make sure to share this video so that way we get more people into this channel and create a great community. Because you know what? The more, the merrier.